I started to run after them. And they didn't see me when I was coming up alongside. So they're still going, and I got behind them and was screaming and calling out, "Mom, Dad!" And I was about 5, and I was in my little yellow sundress. And they got to the driveway and turned left, pulled out across the street and turned left. And I got to the driveway and started to get more frightened, because at first I thought, oh, I'll just chase them down. It wasn't too bad. And then I got more scared as they hit the road. And so they hit the road and they made that left turn, and I, ran out behind them and was just running as fast as my little feet could go with my little sandals and my sundress. And they just started to go faster and faster and faster. And I was on the road, screaming and crying, "Mom, Dad!" Right? And until I was exhausted and they couldn't, I was out of even the rear view mirror view. They wouldn't see me anymore. And so crying and dejected, I curled up and walked across the road and sat down in the middle of the sagebrush and the dirt and just cried. And then after a while, I started to wonder, I wonder if they'll come back. I was there alone in the desert, and I was on the other side of the church wall, and I'd run quite a ways for a little 5-year-old. It was quite a dramatic scene, right? And so I just sat there in the desert, me and my little lizard friends that weren't showing themselves right then, and waited and waited and waited and waited, and eventually, I guess they came back because I spent the rest of my life with them. But I didn't really remember them coming back. I remember being there alone in the desert. And that's what I remember. And I think, actually, as the story goes, that they did get all the way home before. There's only 2 of us, like, really, They got all the way home before they turned around and said, like, "Where's Becca?" And then I'm sure they panicked and came back. But when I think about when I get in touch with, oh, what is it that's happening to me when this desperation, deserted feeling comes up? Now, there might have been lots and lots of other situations or not, but that became symbolic, some sense of that feeling of panic, of being deserted. So I know there's some raw spot around that, some sensitivity to watching for, am I in the car, right? Am I included? Am I going to be left? It's kind of an experience. So that what we're doing in this conversation is looking at what's that alarm and what's the sensitivity, and can we have some sense of sharing with our partner and help organize, why do I go into protest? Like, I'm going to chase you down until you stop and pay attention to me. All right, because I'm so afraid about being left alone in that desert.